Hi everyone, this is Killshot 99 Gaming. This is Fear of the Walking Dead, Season 5, Episode 9. We're going to have the Althea tape debate. So I know we've been waiting on this one. A lot of people did their homework. I've probably spent 45 minutes watching these tapes. I got some really good details I want to discuss with you guys tonight before we get started. Special shout out to the Patreon Army. You can see them up there on the screen. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do. Super special shout out to each and every one of you guys. And we're going to get this thing rolling tonight. Some of the details is going to create a little bit of static because I think there's some differing opinion on the characters. But there's a few things in watching the tape that we can definitely make out that it is. I'm going bold if I say this, and I don't know if I want to jump right out there with it before we break down the tapes. The static. How many people are watching the static? I'm not going to, I guess the static sounds, like that, and you see the different images. I've had people sending me images of like a ghost or something or another, something that they're seeing in those. So you guys are checking these things out, right? And some people are suggesting that maybe they're spliced together and that there's something hidden in those. So let me start out by saying that, yes, there is something very important about the tapes and about the static in the tapes. But it's not that it's spliced together, and it's not that they're hiding anything. It is somebody watching the tapes. That's very important because when we're watching these, you got to remember that we see everything as viewers. And I know that sounds very common, like we see everything that's going on. Remember the Negan example I gave? Like we saw the expressions on Negan's face and we knew something was a little bit different. So what they had to do is they had to put the static in there to show that someone is watching the playback of the tapes. That it's not just being recorded for the first time. So if we go back and watch some of the other ones, I don't know if we'll see it with the Morgan tape or some of the other people, there's a difference between a tape that's being made and a tape that's being watched. And each one of these tapes has kind of that moment. So at first I wanted to watch, and if you watch Jody's tape, you can see, if you pause it, it looks like, you can see a little bit of her shoulder, and then you can see some different colors in the background. And that's the lighting. If you see Clark's, you see what looks like a head leaning on his shoulder. It's his own head. It's a mirror image of him. So, yeah, we're going to break that down and find out what that means just a little bit. So, Hippo in the house. No H-bomb. Camera got stolen. ICP. Moore's Day in the time. Seen some Mute Factor. Gave shout-outs. And, oh, my gosh. But no. Oh, man. Well, Hippo, thanks for the super chat. By the way, Green Team, if you guys can do me a favor. And let's see the Wilson emoji. And also let's see the Hippo emoji for the super fan. But wow, I really want to see that H-bomb. I would have liked to see Morris Day in the time. I mean, if he would have been like, my jungle love, oh yeah, I think I want to know ya. I mean, we could, Morris Day in the time, shout out, Hippo. Man, that would have been great 999 publicity there. We need to find out who stole your camera. But hey, thanks for being here. Thanks for that super chat. So I went through, quick show of hands, if you guys could do me a favor, and hit the like button. But also, let me know if you had a chance to watch all the videos. You saw Jody, CJ and Earl, Ed, Clark. If you've seen all of the tapes, quick show of hands. Okay, I'm going to break down each one of the tapes, and before you guys get in like, oh my God, what are we going to do? I got bullet points. I got, page of notes for each tape, each person. How many people love Althea, are big Althea fans? Najee says, growing on me. A lot of people say I love her. like her. She's okay. All right, good. A lot of people love her. A lot of people are big fans. Her story's getting weird. All right, if none of you are going to say it, because I know you guys get blinded by your love of these characters, something is not making sense with Althea. How many people are going to agree with me on this? Look, she's got a freaking tank. She's got a camera. But something struck me really, really odd about watching her interviews. Not just her story's been weird, Kel, but watching these interviews. And I got a super chat. I'm going to get back to this in 1 second. So, Fluff the Flamethrower kills. That was the first time that I've homework since 1997. You better appreciate Fluff. And I love the new thumbnail. You guys, quick shout out to Fluff if you guys like the Fluff the Flamethrower logo. Dude has his own custom-made logo. Check that out. That's definitely worth a shout out. So, certainly, hey, thanks for that, Fluff. So, let me tell you guys a little bit about, and I'm not taking an approach of, I don't like Althea. That's why I wanted to preface this with, see whose fans are out there. Because when I start digging down sometimes, I get accused of being anti-specific characters. But, look, she's got a tank. She's got a camera. She's a survivor. She is roaming the streets of Texas. She's going back and forth, interviewing these people in Texas. But her desire to get this story out of Ed, I got to be honest, it creeped me the hell out. I mean, the way she kept saying, like the noodles, like, you want some noodles? Tell me your story. You want to go to Tyler, Texas? You got to keep talking. You know what? Tell me a joke. Oh, you really want to ride, don't you? The way she kept on, like, pushing and pushing and pushing to get this story, it bothered me. The Ed video, the way 3 times in that video, it was beyond voluntary. And she's done that multiple times. So, I get that you want part of history. But you know what? Part of history can be getting the stories from people that truly want to tell your story. Part of histories can be what the walkers look like and all of those things. So that part bothered me a little bit as well. But there's one more thing that really bothers me. I like that. Shades of Gregory. Okay, good references. I'm going to give away a Kills coin if you guys can tell me the one thing in this recent Althea story arc that bothers me, not just being manipulative. Kel's got the ledger. Nope, not unlimited gasoline. Not the bad acting. There was some bad acting. We'll talk about that. Not the vault. Not the battery life. These are all good points. There's something about her story arc that has to do with all these people. She does have some serious tapes and some serious battery life. Angel Caloris, give her a Kills coin. Where are all these people? Look, not even a couple of them say, you know what? I'm just going to hang out with you. You got a tank. Where are all these people at? What happened to them? Maybe it's just a coincidence because Fear the Walking Dead is known for these coincidences. But you telling me Ed didn't just want to hang out? CJ and Earl not around? So I'm not at a point where I'm saying Althea is like alpha bad. I'm just saying she has this passion, this passion that just doesn't ever go out, that she will die for these tapes. She will die to keep this story going, that it's the most important thing out there. Could be just her character. I'm not saying it's a character flaw, but it could be her character flaw. Like, no, her character's flaw. That she's willing to die for it. But you've got the way she accumulates equipment. She's got all these noodles. She's got all these military rations. She's connected with somebody that's out there. There's more to her story. And I think we get to the end of the season, that's going to be like that Sixth Sense moment, like, it was Althea all along. But I don't know what it is about Althea. That's the problem. That's the part that is bothering me, because she doesn't seem like she could run an operation. She doesn't seem like she's innately like she's evil yet. But at the same time, I don't know where all these people end up, and I don't know why they don't want to stay around. Unless she's just very clear, like, get out. Get out. I don't have room for you. I don't have time for you. You can't stay in my tank because I got to go find some more people until I run out of gas. That's a possibility. But how many people here from Texas? Where are my Texas viewers? Okay. How far is it from Houston to Waco? Plus that she's putting pine sol in the noodles. Check the tapes. Yeah. She's doing something. Well, see, Michelle Collins, that's the thing. I'm not saying this is where I have to be careful, and this is where you have to be careful. I'm not saying she's killing them. I started out by saying I got to walk this line very, very delicately. Because I'm not ready to say that she's evil, she's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying there's cause for concern. Okay, I don't have a map in front of me, but I'm going to say Houston is on the far east of Texas, and then Tyler would be a little to the west, and then Waco would be more to the west. Would that be a fair assessment? Houston on the east coast, or the east side, then Tyler, then Waco. Okay, good. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. Here's why that's important. Because if we want to funnel things down, who is likely the first person? I'll give a kills coin. Who's likely the first person she met in Texas? There you go. All right. Tommy was the first to answer, so Kel, can you add Tommy to the ledger? Okay. Abe was from Houston. Now keep in mind, when did we get the introduction of Abraham? Season 3? I'm not looking at any notes here, so I'm... Okay, season 4. So we can get an idea of how long Althea has been roaming around Texas, doing what she's doing. We're going to funnel this tonight and some of these other interviews and piece a little bit of this together. So season 4 is where Eugene, Rosita, and Abraham ran into the other group. Now, what do we think between season 1 and season 4? I mean, I don't have the exact, what, a year, maybe? All right, so she's been out there. She's been in Texas for a while. All right, so Abraham, little backstory on Abraham. Abraham had a wife named Ellen, a son named AJ, perhaps Abe Jr., and a daughter named Becca. Now, some bad stuff went down in Houston. Abe was losing his mind, was suicidal, ran into Eugene, and by that point, his spirits were getting lifted. You know, he was back. He had something to fight for. So if we have Abe and the doctor, then Althea has already met Abe and Eugene after all these things had happened. Abe was a hothead, as we know. Now, is it possible, and perhaps even likely, if Althea's not connected, is it possible she got the tank from Abe? I mean, that was one of her first interviews. She has been driving it around Texas. Maybe Abe realized that, hey, I'm taking Eugene to D.C. This isn't going to get me there. This isn't going to do me any good. Here, you take it. Well, Viola, I think Abraham probably couldn't figure out the thing that Althea figured out, which is how to get unlimited fuel into that fuel-guzzling vehicle. I think some of you guys were typing. You guys were typing the answer before you heard the statement. But certainly that would, I mean, look, you ain't taking that thing to D.C. I love some of the answers, like, we're actually in the mind of Abe right now. Abe ain't giving that up. Abe was not on a local mission. Abe was on a mission to go to Washington, D.C. If we get an Abe and Eugene video, okay, well, here's my question. If Abe didn't have an act of generosity and say, look, we're going to have to take a lighter weight vehicle because we're going all the way to D.C., you take my vehicle. If Abe really wanted this tank, don't you think during the interview process, all right, doesn't it strike you a little bit odd that Abe could have taken the tank from her, but why not convince her to go to D.C. and film everything? I mean, why drive around Texas? No offense to people who live in Texas. But if you're going to drive around and preserve history, and you know that you're interviewing Abe, why not say, hey, why don't we all go to D.C.? Because we'll meet people along the way, and probably wouldn't hurt to have this guy looking over my shoulder. Seems a little strange, right? So 2 hands in a radio, then why not commandeer the tank? We know that she interviewed him, so he had access. Or option 3, what if she stole it? All right, several different options. But one of those stories almost played out. So I want to start out by talking about Jody. What was Jody's profession? So this is funny to me. Hold on. Princess Pie type, Jody was so boring. All right, I'm going to pause you for a second. Because I saw a comment earlier that there was a sidebar going on. And I think it was Princess and a couple other, and it said, "Oh, poor Clark. I just wanted to reach out and hug Clark." Right, was that you, Princess Pie, that felt bad for Clark? The guy that locked stuff up in the vault? Okay, I'm waiting for an answer. So Clark was touching and Clark was moving and everybody believed Clark. But Jody was boring. I would say go back and watch Jody's tape again. There was a moment of all the tapes I watched, there was a very, very real moment in Jody's conversation. And if you guys can get into my mind right now, because I got several notes, and tell me the moral of Jody's story. There was a moral to it. So the first person that can tell me the moral of Jody's story, I'll give you a free Kills coin. Not the legacy. Not the way he'll be remembered. Nope. A lot of people are focusing on the legacy. She wasn't doing the surgery with one arm. She actually had both arms. Nope, nobody's gotten it so far. No, there was a deep-rooted moral to Jody's story that I saw in her story that I didn't see in anybody else's. It was her husband that bit her. She did have to amputate her own arm. All those things are true. You do have to be alert, but that's not it. Very close, Angel, very close. You're on the right track. No, all right, I'm going to help you guys out because nobody said it. There you go, Jennifer Flaherty. Boom, finally, somebody got it word for word. Let's give Jennifer Flaherty a Kills coin. She was so focused on fixing him, she didn't realize he was dead. How many times, and that, when I watched that, it's the one thing about it that gave me cold chills. Because you see these surgeons and they talk about having a God complex, that because they have these abilities to do things. And she was so in tune to it. She was so focused on the miracle that she was about to perform. She missed his final moment, and she said, he may have been reaching out for me, but I didn't notice because I was just trying to save his life. So she could have, as a doctor or as a human, she chose to be the surgeon. She could have stopped and said, he's dying, and I want to spend his last 30 seconds hearing what he has to say or telling him what. She missed all of those moments, and she could not have even get his legacy. She had to create a legacy for him because she was too busy trying to fix him. And I would disagree with Princess Pie wholeheartedly. There was nothing. When I got to that part in it, there was nothing, but that was the part that drove me down. And she's like, I don't buy her story. Well, she's missing an arm. I mean, she's missing an arm. She said it was a patient. And it's not a matter of whether you buy it or you don't buy it. It's the meaning of the story. And it's too honest to be a made-up story. Because if there's one thing about lawyers, and if you're a lawyer, or if you're married to a lawyer, I apologize. Or doctors, and if you're a doctor, or you're married to a doctor, I apologize. But they're typically professions that come with a certain amount of ego. And for her to acknowledge that her ego took over, doesn't seem like a fabricated story. It seems very broken down to the point. And that's what moved me about her story. Now, I also want to say something else. There's a history, albeit it could be a very small history, between Althea and Jody. The other interviews seem very sporadic, very impromptu. But there was one thing in the Jody conversation that we found out that they had talked previously. Now, it could have been a couple hours before. It could have been a couple days before. I mean, they're in a cabin. So most people don't just invite you into their cabin. But Jody had told her that the accident was from a patient. That's how she initially told her that she lost her arm. And we know this because during the interview, when Jody started choking up a little bit, telling her story, you hear Althea say to her, oh, so your husband was the patient. And that caught me a little bit odd the first time I heard it because she just told you her husband was a patient. But when she repeated it, you can see that there was something that was told to her before she started the camera rolling. And once the camera got rolling, the honesty came out. Which brings up a very interesting dynamic. Her husband was Ryan. So I had funneled this down as well. There were two stories that seemed believable and two stories that seemed like they could have been false. Real quick show of hands. Which two stories seemed the most believable to you, and which two stories seemed like they were kind of going with the flow? Leanne Gash says, boy, Kills, you spent a lot of times on these tapes. How many people have been watching this channel for more than 2 years? Just a quick show of hands. In response to Leanne's question. Valerie Feldman, Deborah Farrell, Wilson. When I put myself into a theory, do I do the work? Seriously, I mean, I watched these tapes. I reviewed these tapes. I went CSI. If I would have had them in front, I would have dusted these tapes for fingerprints. Leanne. When I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So the two tapes to me, and I'm not saying that they're good people. Two people, when the camera started rolling, I felt like they were honest. And I think this is intentional too. I think Ian and Andrew, they got together and they said, we're going to do 4 of these as promos. And Clark and Jody are going to be your believable ones. CJ Earl and Ed are your, yeah. CJ and Earl and Ed had some striking similarities. Now, I'm not saying Clark is a good person right now. What I'm saying is Clark was emotional and Clark was moving, and I believe Clark's story. I believe there's a bank. I believe there's a family. I believe his wife named Stacy. All of those things. But that doesn't mean that Clark could not have went beast mode if something happened to his family. I think there could be a part 2 to Clark's story. Just a thought. Because some of the people that lose the most are the ones that have the most to pay back. And either they do it in a big way or they do it in a very vengeful way. So the verdict's still out on Clark. However, Clark's story was very believable to me. But the one thing we've seen this from YouTube and people. Sometimes when there's a camera on people, they have a change of personality. Let's just put it that way. Ed's story and his comic routine and the bag of beans bothered me. So Ed and CJ, I thought were acting very poorly. Clark and Jody, I thought were acting. And how many people thought, I saw you guys talking about this a little bit earlier. How many people thought the CJ Earl scene was bad actors? Bad casting. Good. I'm glad you guys agree. See, I don't. I think it was brilliant casting. And I'll tell you why. I think they wanted to get the most uncomfortable, fake, mixing it up. I think the actors did an incredible job, and I think it was exactly what they wanted us to do, is they wanted CJ and Earl to look like they were just lying and making it up and scripted, and they've told this story before. I think they did really well because they weren't believable, and I think they were cast to be not believable. That's one. And I think Ed's the same way. Because when I saw the Clark interview, and we talked about this yesterday, Clark was good and passionate. So I think all the actors, all 5 of them, I think did a great job. But I think 3 of them were meant to be liars, and 2 of them were meant to be emotionally moving. So I think Clark and Jody were the 2 that hit me the most. Jody, by far, being a story, you got a surgeon who is trying to use their left hand, learning all over again, worried about the legacy and all the things that were sacrificed. Clark, once he realized, hey, this is for something bigger, and Althea said, we're arguing over the same thing, he gave up the vault code a little fast in the process of a 3-minute interview. He gave the code away. Mr. Takagi never gave the code to Hans Gruber, and that cost him. Maybe Clark saw Die Hard and thought, you know what, I better give her the code because otherwise I'm going to end up like Mr. Takagi. But no, there's a Die Hard reference. That's for you, Fluff. Hopefully you get it. So Jody, what to me was the most passionate. Clark got it in the process of a quick interview. Ed. Ed was cruising into a port and looking for a party, yo ho ho, and a bottle of Bacardi. I don't think Ed was in Miami doing stand-up. I think Ed is shady. First of all, if that's your headline joke, nobody's going to let you get up on stage about pirates. But then all of a sudden he just started, right? He started talking fast about the creepy walker was after me and half of his limbs was attached to the bag and his eye was hanging out and he was like, and I'm like, first of all, that wasn't funny. But I think because he laughed and he told the story in a way, and because Althea just wanted to get him on tape, I think she realized she didn't laugh at his first joke, so she humored him the second time around. Chris Reinig wants he wants a rap song. Maybe during Random Things. I mean, I wouldn't go like, because mutiny on the bounty's what we're all about. I'm going to board your ship and turn it on out. No soft sucker with a parrot on his shoulder because I'm bad, getting bold, getting bold, getting bold. All right, there you go. That's the only rap rhyme I know. Beastie Boys. There you go. Rhyming and stealing. That's for you, Chris, because you asked for it. You put me on the spot. I had to do it. But I think that's better than cruising into a port and we're looking for a party, yo ho ho, and a bottle of Bacardi. Yeah. Wilson, Ed couldn't pull a knife, let alone a crowd. Did it seem like Ed had his eye on that walker and was fumbling around with his knife a little bit too much, that Why have a knife if it takes you that long to pull the knife? He didn't even he wasn't like standing up, backing away. Yeah, it did seem fake, didn't it? So a couple of topics, and that hits on a couple of them, is the bad acting, I think, was intentional. Fear the Walking Dead they got a big budget. They could have watched this and said, you know what? Our viewers are going to think that it's very scripted. They got exactly what they wanted. And the C.J. Earl story, I got to tell you, they can't even tell the truth to each other. I don't know enough about the characters to find inconsistencies. That's the problem. Otherwise, I'd be able to kind of catch them in their own lies. A Descrubador, and they found out things about each other while they're sitting there behind the camera. Like, well, why didn't you tell me about Earl's story going through the tunnels was so unbelievable. And then, the CJ tried to be touching, but it was nowhere near Jody's story. E. Beach kills, out of these characters, who will be on the show, villain or good? Well, here's the thing, okay? We have not seen all of Althea's tapes. But the bigger picture is she's been doing this for several years. I think we could probably safely say 4 to 5 years she's been going around doing this. If we take the time that she first interviewed Abraham as the starting point, and then Abraham got there, and then it crosses over with Dwight's story, 5 years of taping people. Now, what we also know is that she wants the vault to store her tapes. So, Althea apparently has a huge collection of tapes inside the vault. All right? You guys with me so far? All right, and this ties into the question that E. Beach asked a second ago, so I'm getting to you, Eric. So, we've got Althea's early tapes are probably stored in the vault. Her most recent tapes are in the tank. Who has access to the vault? 3 people. we're going to funnel this down so you guys can see exactly where I'm going with this very soon. Well, Lonnie's with me. There you go. All right, so 3 people have access to the vault. So Al, Clark, and the assistant manager. So as we started out this stream, we said that the static in the video appears to be somebody watching the tapes, not recording the tapes. Because as a viewer, we've seen the tapes as they've happened in real time. The difference between Althea filming Morgan initially is we saw it as she saw it. These tapes, we're watching the playback. And if these tapes happened in the beginning and they were stored in the vault, I would say either the assistant manager or Clark has revisited the vault and is going through this cache of tapes. So, Eric, I'm not willing to say, is Clark a hero? Is Clark a villain? But I'm saying there is the possibility that Clark could have revisited the vault after something happened with Stacy, all of those things, could have watched his reaction when he's saying, honey, if you're watching this, I got killed. Now, if he's watching the playback of this, could be the assistant manager, but if it's Clark, imagine that emotional pendulum, right? You think that your significant other is going to be watching the tape and they're going to be mourning you, but then you're watching your own tape and you're mourning them. I think that could be some nice fuel to have a change, to, revisit this vault and kind of tell the stories. I mean, I don't know. It's one story. It's one possibility. Or the assistant manager. But I think, to your question, which character could I see sticking around out of all of them? I could see Clark. I could see Clark having a longer story. And for some of the reasons we talked about last night. He's a bigger dude. I'm not trying to just stereotype his career, but he doesn't look like a bank manager. He looks like he's ex-military. I mean, he's a bank manager that's leaving at about, 1 o'clock, hitting the weights, and then coming back to the bank. So, I mean, there are relics there are things, but there's only 3 people have access to the vault. Well, Ellis, keep in mind that, because Ellis said Clark looks like he's been eating good. I mean, they talked about killing a deer, and they can do some fishing. But remember, this tape of Clark is at the beginning. This isn't a recent tape. So all of these stories, because of the static in the story, I don't think they're recent tapes. I think they're 5 years ago, when it first started happening, when it first started getting weird. Now, are they still alive? Are they still lurking out there? Maybe. But if Clark survived it, if he has some more details about, what Althea is up to, what's she doing, who she's taping, does she go back on occasion and check the vault, drop things off, pick up batteries? I mean, back and forth. So, I mean, he would have some knowledge of what she's doing. E-Beach, CJ seems like they would be a villain setup. Yeah, I could see Ed as creepy. I could see CJ and Earl. But I just don't know if there's enough time to develop a story with all of them. I would say it's more likely than not that we'll see some tragedy. What happened to Jody? What happened to the surgeon that has one arm? Commonwealth find her? Is she a surgeon? Did they help her? These people that are in desperate situations, were they found by somebody else? How much are they willing to sacrifice? But something about Clark, though, something about his eyes, something about his acting tells me he's a really, really passionate person. And much like Abraham, you know what? Abraham might have been a loving father, a good husband, and he snapped. And his wife and kids were so afraid of him after he snapped with those other people. It would just be interesting if Clark had a little bit of Abe's storyline. Now, the sad part is AMC might never bring these tapes out of the archives. We might not ever see any of these characters. We may just see the person who watched the video at some point. But I think the important thing with the timeline, we're going to wind this video down in just a couple minutes here, the stream. So we got about 3 or 4 more minutes. A couple people mentioned it. If you guys are watching, do me a favor. Hit that like button if you had a good time tonight. But the important thing is, Althea asked for the vault. She wanted to store things in the vault. So Clark's tape, as well as the other tapes, are likely the first ones that were put into the vault. And if we get nothing else out of those, the fast forwarding and the watching, what we thought was bad acting, I think was very good acting, good casting. And I think there's more that we're going to find out. I think Althea is more than somebody with a tank and a camera. She has some odd history, backstory, some connection to something to live this long. It's just tough. It's just tough to see her as kind of solo. And she does. She knows a lot. No doubt about it. All right. Hey, time absolutely flies, everybody. Good, deep, detailed topics. Appreciate all the interaction. It's like we start this stream, we dig down into these tapes, and next thing you know, an hour is like gone before you even know it. Crazy, crazy. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Keep in mind, we're doing random things tomorrow. I've had some of you guys tell me Freestyle Friday is your favorite. How many of you really look forward to random things? Just a quick show of hands. Eric Beach says, so Kills, bold prediction for the second half. Eric, I would say hold tight, because I got several bold predictions, things that I'm interested in finding out that we've already made, some of the small predictions. But the more we talk about it, I would go with that. I'd say this vault and uncovering and who has access to this is going to identify who the next villain is. And I don't know who that villain is yet, but I think it will. Timex, our theories and funnels. Kills for writer of The Walking Dead. Hey, there you go. Hey, I wouldn't be here coming up with theories and funnels if it weren't for all of you, but thanks for that, Rolex. Appreciate the super chat. So a lot of people love random things. You guys don't know what random things is. We prepare several different topics, and they're scripted topics, so we'll have polls, surveys, rhyme time. we've been doing just all kind of different scenarios that you'll see. You just got to get in it. You got to participate in it. If you've never been in one, just experience it live. It's much better than the playback. Random things is it's kind of like Freestyle Friday with some scripted topics. How about that? That's the only way I can go into it. Not always karaoke, but we do have some band challenges from time to time. Just be here tomorrow night at 9:30. You'll have a good time, I promise. If not, you can leave early. Wednesday night, we'll also be doing a stream as well, so we'll be back to the Walking Dead universe. There'll be some fear topics in there, so we're not getting away from the Walking Dead. We're going to do our fear countdown, but we want to get some news encompassed in that. Also, Friday will be Freestyle Friday. Saturday morning, we're doing a stream. And, of course, Sunday, we got Fear of the Walking Dead. So it's been a long 3 weeks, but we're back in our wheelhouse. So that's a lot of stuff. All right, really quickly, everybody, I want to give a special shout-out to all the patrons. Thanks for everything that you guys do. The channel members, thanks to all the channel members out there. Also, to the moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells. Tommy wanted me to do a shout-out, so quick shout-out to his buddy, Billy. Happy birthday to Billy. And you got it. There you go, Tommy. Appreciate it, man. And big shout out to all the 999 Army. Hopefully you guys have a great night. Thanks for everything that you guys do. And I'll see you all here at 9:30 tomorrow. Have a good night. Peace.